What I'm about to share with you are 5 more of the craziest things that I ever learned about girls, and once you know these things, it's going to be pretty much impossible for your life not to change for the better. So with that said, let's get right into it. Number 1, girls rarely settle for same status men. Now, I know you've all heard the saying that women date up, but what about the men who are of a roughly equal value to the women that they are pursuing? Now, we live in a world today where things are more competitive than ever, and never before in history have we had more men going to the gym, more men gaining vital knowledge like what is being taught on this channel, and never before in history have women had more options to choose from. Now, it's great that we have so many guys out there who are going to the gym and generally improving their lives, but at the same time is also creating far more competition for all the men in general. Now, many of you have seen the articles out there that are talking about how there are more men now than ever before who don't have a girl to sleep next to them at night, and essentially what is happening is that men who are not actively competing are simply getting squeezed out of the marketplace. And so as a result of this, there are more cats now than ever before who are living a life of luxury, and there's a good chance that Domino's might soon run out of pizzas. So what this means is that the competition is fierce, and unless you want to spend the rest of your life with 3 or 4 cats instead of having a beautiful girl rubbing your feet before you go to bed at night, you're going to have to get out there and compete, which brings us to number 2. Girls desire a guy who has more value than them. You see, on a biological level, women seek men who have a higher total score, so to speak. And in terms of value, we're talking things like desirable personality traits. We're talking things like social status, like power, wealth, intelligence. And while there are many more, these are some of the top traits that women are always looking for in a man to determine his total level of value. And while it's true that men love it when they can get a woman of higher value, as men, we don't have anywhere near as much of an incentive to do so. So a lot of times guys will tend to settle with a girl who has significantly less value than them. But here's the neat thing about women naturally seeking men who have more desirable traits than they have. If you can get yourself into the top percentage of men, which is much, much easier to do than you would think, they always say it's really lonely at the top, meaning your competition at the top is going to be minimal. You see, men who are able to reach the top of the hierarchy, or at the very least get close to it, will always have a much easier time attracting women that they are interested in. And at the end of the day, simply understanding these facts should give you far more motivation to try to reach the top, because the closer that you are to the top, the less competition there is going to be for you. Now, if you look at some of the cheaper car companies like Toyota, Hyundai, Kia, Honda, competition is fierce amongst these car makers because they are all fighting for the same customers, whereas car companies competing at the top have far less competition. Understanding this one simple thing about girls also makes it easier to make sure that someday when you do want a girlfriend, you'll realize that it's far better to go with a girl who is a little bit lower in terms of overall attractiveness or overall value than the highest level that you could actually get, because she is going to be more likely to stay with you. Number 3, too mean is always better than too nice. Now, it seems simple because it is, yet at the same time, it's incredibly profound. And one of the craziest things that I ever learned about girls is that too mean is always going to be better than too nice. You see, a girl will almost always choose a guy who is really mean over a guy who is overly nice, and the reasoning for this is really simple. You see, women are always looking first and foremost for protection and for security. And so even if a man who is really mean isn't the best partner overall, she's always going to pick that guy and take comfort in knowing that that guy will be able to protect her compared to the guy who is too nice. You see, many guys have a problem with being too nice and being too agreeable, but at the same time, they don't want to calibrate too far to the other end of the spectrum. But once you understand that girls will always choose the guy who is not the best man, but who can at least protect them, it's a lot easier for guys who are too nice or too much of a pushover to become more of a jerk or to unleash their evil side, so to speak. Now, what you guys have to understand is that it's the same exact situation with confidence. And so what this means is that girls will always choose a guy who is overconfident and arrogant over a guy who has little confidence or no confidence at all. You see, with girls, it's almost always better for a guy to be on the quote-unquote eviler side of any given trait than for him to be in a situation where he basically has no personality at all. Number 4, the trump card. So many guys out there believe that the most important thing that girls are looking for is looks, and this would make sense since as men, our primary way of judging a woman is based on her looks. However, there's something far more important than pretty much everything else. And if you have this thing, it's kind of like having a trump card in this giant game of attraction that we are all playing in. You see, I've made many videos in the past talking about game and what it is, and game is basically a word that is used to mean many things, such as the information that you're getting from this video right now. But the traditional meaning of game is used to describe a man's social skills, or a man who has such advanced game that he could quite literally sell salt to a slug. Now, that's not to condone any sort of violence towards slugs, it's just to let you know that your level of game or your degree of skill in the social arena is basically like a trump card, or it's like the hidden factor that so many guys completely miss. Now, many guys will spend their entire life chasing money and then fail miserably in most social situations. And what you guys have to understand is that females are, even more so than men, at their core, social beings. Now, what this means is that you could argue that a man's social skills might actually be far more important at the end of the day than his looks, his wealth, or any other compensating factor. So the whole point here is that traditional game, or what I would call advanced social skills, are easily the most underrated aspect of this whole game of attraction. And the moment that you guys realize this, you'll have the potential to automatically gain an edge over most guys, because most guys just don't have the best social skills. Number 5, the good guy wins in the end. So many guys go through high school and even college before they fully grasp the concepts in this video and others like it. And it's really easy to think that because a lot of guys didn't have girls chasing them in high school that they'll never get them. But I've come bearing great news. The good news is that the good guys win in the end, and it was supposed to be this way. You and I, and all the guys who are rising to power a little bit later in life, this is our time to shine. You might not have had all the girls chasing you back in high school, but they sure as hell are going to be chasing you now. And as long as you guys are improving a little bit every day, your competition will get a little bit smaller each and every day. And probably the most important thing that I have ever learned about girls is that girls are like the cherry on the top of the cupcake. The more that you work on yourself, the more attention that you will naturally get from girls. The craziest thing that I ever learned about girls is that to get them chasing you, you have to paradoxically not really focus on them at all. The more that I learned about girls, the more that I fully realized that the path to getting all the attention that you could ever want from girls is really just a path of self-improvement, or a path of working on yourself. You see, for many of you watching, your journey will lead you to the same conclusion, which is that the closer that you get to the stop, or the more that you turn self-improvement into a lifestyle, the more you will start to notice girls chasing after you. You see, in any situation, it's always better to attract something or to make something come to you rather than you having to chase or pursue that thing. This is literally the process by which stars are born. So why wouldn't it also apply to the things that we want in our life? And with that said, until next time, as always, thank you guys so much for watching.